Today's journey, we are brewing 1 gallon of authentic root beer using actual roots. We start by adding 5 ounces each of light brown sugar, dark malt extract, and granulated white sugar to 1 gallon of your preferred drinking water. You can do an equal substitute for almost any kind of sugar or sweetener, so long as they don't contain any preservatives that could kill the yeast. Mix thoroughly until dissolved. Please note that even though we are using a 5,000 milliliter beaker to make our root beer today, we strongly recommend using a stainless steel cooking pot instead. We are fast forwarding through Phil playing around. Now we boil for 15 minutes. We are fast forwarding for your convenience. Because our brew pot is clear, you will not only notice how much darker the root beer will become as the boil goes on, but also the natural convection of the hotter liquids from the bottom rising to the top. Do not be tempted to skip this step, as boiling the sugar will help it dissolve fully and aid in creating a more refined product in the end. Next, we prepare our roots by putting them into a muslin bag. Today's batch includes 1 ounce sassafras, ½ ounce Mexican sarsaparilla, birch bark, ginger root, and wild cherry bark. And to top it off, a 1/4 ounce each of burdock root and licorice root. The bag may have a tendency to want to float. You can give it a few dunks, and that'll help it absorb some water to want to sink, or the use of glass marbles is highly recommended. Next, we simmer for 30 minutes. We are fast forwarding for your convenience. Just like with brewing normal beer, the chance of a boil over is always possible. So never turn your back or leave a pot unattended while it is on the burner. If a boil over does occur, kill the heat immediately. Standard spaghetti rules apply. As you take in the aromas, now is a good time to contemplate any changes to the next batch you plan to make. What is neat about making root beer is that it is as complicated and complex as making beer can be, but suitable for a younger audience. If you are a home brewer trying out root beer for the first time, it is a good idea to keep any plastic tools separate from your root beer equipment, as the strong flavor components may create off flavors and more light and delicate beers that you brew in the future. Hey, I said don't leave it unattended. Phil must be banking on the fact that he has killed the heat earlier. It is still unadvised to leave it unattended with young ones around, as this is very hot. We will now want to cool the root beer until it is room temperature, about 70 degrees Fahrenheit or 21.1 degrees Celsius. You can use a ice bath or wort chiller if you'd like at this point to cool it down, but we will use the long method, just so that you can see how much temperature affects the size of the water in the vessel. That was over a quarter of a liter of shrinkage. That's why we don't always trust the markings on the sides, unless we know what temperature that they were calibrated for. We are taking this time off stage to sanitize 5 12-ounce bottles and our funnel used for the final step. As we get ready to remove the root bag, we prepare a place for it to land, as this is a very sticky mess that can be avoided with proper planning. No need for fancy equipment. Today we will just be using a funnel to pour this directly into a 12-ounce plastic bottle. You can reuse plastic pop or soda bottles that you have lying around already. When filling, be sure to leave at least an inch of headroom at the top. Many instructions will say to add the yeast directly to the bottle in the funnel. You may also add it to the entire supply if you have sanitized a mixing utensil ahead of time. After filling and capping all of the bottles, place them in a dark room at room temperature, 70 degrees Fahrenheit or 21.1 degrees Celsius, for about 1 to 2 days, checking once every 12 hours, squeezing for firmness. Once they are firm, place them in the fridge to cool before drinking. Thank you for joining us on today's journey, and hoist a frosty one for us. When squeezing, it should be hard with a little give.